Thank you for joining Think, Build, Launch podcast. This program is an extension of Marl Startup Studio. Marl Startup Studio's mission is building a bridge between the Silicon Valley and Rochester, New York, to increase economic inclusion and deal flow. Our primary objectives include supporting ideation and helping get organic ideas into shareable structure, engaging Silicon Valley investors and actually bringing them to Rochester, New York, optimizing the 800,000 student talent pool that's in the area, making sure that they get opportunities for internships and co-ops and build relationships locally, and then also amplifying the robust Rochester startup ecosystem. It's great to have you here. And today, it's really wonderful. We have Evan Gallina. Evan Gallina has been involved in the commercial industrial real estate market for over 10 years with Gallina Development Corporation. Gallina Development and its affiliates own and manage multiple properties throughout the greater Rochester area, specializing in industrial flex space, medical office, and Class A office space. In addition, Gallina Development has recently invested heavily in downtown Rochester and now owns 2 of the tallest high-rises in the city. Evan is a graduate of Siena College and holds a degree in economics. He currently sits on the board of trustees for Virtus High School and the United Way Emerging Leaders Society. Evan's a proud supporter of many charities in Rochester, including Gilda's Club of Rochester, the Center for Youth, Make-A-Wish Foundation, United Way of Greater Rochester, and the Al Sig Center. He is very invested in Rochester as a marketplace, a community, and a home. We recently had an event downtown, and it's really lovely to go downtown and see something called Innovation Square. Evan, please talk to us about the genesis of Innovation Square and what your vision for the space is.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me first and foremost. It's great to be here and talk about all the things we're doing and what you're doing, and try to create some collaboration here. So when we first bought Innovation Square about 2 years ago, we saw the former Xerox headquarters in Rochester, New York, being totally vacant, empty, dark, tallest building in the city with no life in it. And so we started to think outside the box on how we could revitalize this structure in a non-traditional way for Rochester and how we could really create some vibrancy in our downtown. And we started to look at the ecosystem down there, and we realized that we lacked a connection between our student population and our businesses and corporations that are working down there. So we thought, what if we could create a collaborative campus in the heart of downtown, which students from multiple universities could live, work, innovate together, and hopefully create these academic collisions and bridge that gap. So that was really our thought process behind it. And fast forward 2 years and a lot of sleepless nights. We have about 275 kids living in the building to date. We have a national co-working group. We have the YMCA that has a fitness center, and we have a 700-person auditorium that's utilizing shows. They had Garth Fagan dance there all weekend. So we really have some vibrancy, but we're just really scraping the surface of what this could be long-term. We're still building out some more residential units. We'll have 400 beds there when it's all said and done. We're starting to attract more commercial businesses and really trying to make an impact of downtown and change the landscape.
I think there was Campus Rock that was there. Was that was it the Chamber, Greater Rochester Chamber, that had that event there? And it was. I mean, how many students did you have there? It was so vibrant.
I think there were about 1,200 kids that came through that day.
Yeah, and it didn't there was so much space. It didn't. It was like really. It was really incredible. And what are I know you have Ben Garvey there who has that. Can you tell us a little bit about the gaming lounge that's there?
Yeah. So Ben's an RIT grad, School of Individualized Studies, and he was awarded some money through the Tiger Tank, which is RIT's version of Shark Tank, for his startup idea. And it was a community gaming lounge. So Ben's the founder of Great Lakes Gaming, and we started talking, probably a year and a half ago, and just picking each other's brain a little bit. And he said, I really want a true space to run my business. And we showed him some space at Innovation Square, and we figured out a way to get him in there. So he operates Great Lakes Gaming out of the 22nd floor of Innovation Square, overlooking a bunch of the city. It's just a really great space for him.
So, we at Marl, we really work with first-time founders and students of all ages. And so at one point in time, you would see a building and you'd say, do you have a vision for that building? But right now, there's so much space that's there to be developed. It's almost like, what do you envision? And can we see if it can be built there? And the answer is it probably can be built there, which is really great. What are some of the other strategies you have on engaging more students to participate, and anything that we can do to strengthen that community?
Well, there's a little bit of a chicken and an egg scenario. So we want to attract the students. Right now, we're building some really cool apartments. It's high-rise living. So if you have students coming from New York, Chicago, Boston, overseas, they want more of an urban feel than a traditional Rochester campus. There's an attraction that way. Everything's fully furnished. There's an attraction that way. But in the long term, if we can attract companies that need consistent employees, interns, tech companies, people that can work remote or locally, then I think there's an infrastructure there that will continue to attract more students. And it's kind of this one good thing attracts another, and a little bit of an ebb and flow here. But if we can create a place where people want to hang out, something good's going to happen there. And that's kind of been our mindset.
Yeah. It really, I remember, or I was in the early days of the Carlson co-working space, and we built the space, and there was it was just blank. And then we were there, and then 4 other companies came, and it really, you kind of need those anchor tenants to come, and then people can envision actually coming there, which is really great. I know you've talked about an urban revival, and talking about bridging not only the business but the individuals that are living downtown. What are you seeing as an urban revival for Rochester, and what are some key signals that will help us know that we're actually making it happen?
Yeah, there's been this national trend over the last 10, 15 years about urban revitalization and bringing people back into the center city and creating strong urban cores. The biggest demographic that we see to attract national retailers and national corporations and stuff like that is a headcount of 10,000 apartments in a center city. So we're starting to get to that number in Rochester, and that's kind of the tipping point. So I think in the next few years, we had a lot of momentum before COVID. I think COVID kind of slowed everyone down a little bit. But I think we're getting back to that point where we're starting to touch those numbers that we need to in order to kind of start to scale on a larger level. I call the students that live at Innovation Square our pioneers, because they're kind of there first and foremost and experiencing it. They're our beta test, if you will. And I think a lot of the people that have invested downtown right now are those pioneers that we're going to put some money into this. We're going to try to create something cool, and we'll see if we can attract other investments in a way. And I think we're starting to see that.
And it'll be really fun to be able to track over a decade those students and where they end up. Because I know sometimes it takes 2, 3, 18-month cycles. And with all of the great ideas and the relationships that are here, it's just remarkable. But I always like to find out, where do people start and where do they end up? And to be part of that revitalization story, I think is really fantastic. We did have our first Marl on Main event that we brought in a VC to town, and we had 80 people register. 60 people showed up in November on a 70-degree day, which I'm going to say is a win. And we will continue to have at least 2 events next year. What was your experience of Marl on Main, and what do you really like about it? And what can we do to strengthen that foothold in terms of our commitment to build a bridge between the Rochester downtown area and the Silicon Valley?
So my favorite part about that event is I just like listening to people's stories. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone's been through some sort of experience in their life that they can share on a public platform. And so listening to people that have found success and how they went about that is always impressive to me. But I think what people need to realize is someone that does that has the ability to pay that forward to a lot more folks. So if you look at the Silicon Valleys of the world, there's a ton of talent there. And there were businesses that were sprouted there, and then all sorts of spin-offs, and that's how the community kind of grows. And I think if you look at Rochester, we have a ton of talent here locally, and we had a ton of innovation way back when our city was kind of founded. But I still think we have that infrastructure here. And I think if we can get some decent investment into our startup scene, I'm optimistic that we'll experience a really big burst in companies here and growing opportunities for all of our talent pool that we have.
That's great. And I have to come up with a better response than that's great. It's just so like I see it happening, and I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to actually bring VCs here. Like we feel that like when people come to the city and they learn about our history, there's something about being here that I think makes a difference. My initial plan was from Denver was to be here for 5 years and then move back to Golden, Colorado, and I stayed because it just has, it has so much to offer. Leadership, in addition to your commitment to downtown Rochester as a community and a home, I know that you're also very involved in Virtus High School. And we have a mutual friend, Tori Van Voorst from Second Avenue Learning. Just want to do a shout out for her. What is it about that high school that's so important in terms of your commitment of continuity from learning to being a founder to bringing companies here?
I think I look at our educational system in Rochester, and I took it for granted growing up. I was given a lot of opportunities that a lot of kids didn't have, and I would like to make sure that other kids that didn't have my upbringing, I think, can have opportunities to succeed at whatever level that may be. So it's really about giving back to the community and trying to leave something a little better than what you found it.
That reminds me, one of our earlier programs was Nazir Ali from Upstate Venture Connect, and he talks about that sometimes people think that you want to create reciprocal value, and he says, no, you actually want to create pay it forward value. And so it's really neat for you to be investing at that level, and then also be making such a great commitment to downtown Rochester, which is great. I'm so glad we had you on the program, and we have so much more to do together. I'm very excited to let you know that Marl on Main has 2 events in 2023, and both of them will be held at Innovation Square and will be open to the public as well. So I'd like to thank all of you for joining us at Think Build Launch today. I'd like to thank Innovation Square, Impellant Ventures, NextCore, Upstate Venture Connect, the Ains Center for Entrepreneurship at the University of Rochester for all of your collaboration. I also want to acknowledge our producer, Scott Fitzgerald, here at RockVox Studio. If you want to be part of this bridge between Rochester, New York, and the Silicon Valley, connect with me, Jennifer, at marlaccelerator.com. Please subscribe to our program, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for joining us.